what's it gonna be year after
At the
year
end,
after
yep.
year? We don't know.
They'll update their spreadsheet once they get it. Cause I got another one today, another email.
Yeah, that was it's a reporting one. I got it too. that
Okay.
There's a report due by the end of this month if you have used any of the funds for non-opioid purposes.
We don't want to send them a link because then Sylvia doesn't have to start as much.
You get it, or you want me to forward it to you?
No, I got him.
I know. How's it going? No.
So Mitch, how you doing this morning?
We just changed how we're doing it.
Am I taking your seat?
We're gonna shut that electricity off and go look for it in the morning till we do everything. Is that okay? We'll be back on later in the afternoon.
So we get,
You just have the one?
are we gonna get this page? Are we gonna get our page?
I don't see the other mouse, do you?
No, you got mine. Oh, here's one. Maybe that's why mine never worked. I'm still having a hard time.
Planning commission.
Yours is good.
Planning commission stole the mouse.
Yeah.
You guys just gonna do
Start 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
We're recording at least. There he is.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order.
Jamie,
Today,
your picture's sideways.
today, September 17, 2024, is 11:03, and we're gonna start with a meeting. We'll have roll call. Can you hear us, Commissioner Harvey? I don't know if they can hear us.
Hey,
Okay.
hola.
Hola. Hi. Yahate. Anyway, so we're gonna have a roll call now. Commissioner Adams,
Here.
Commissioner Harvey,
I'm here.
and I'm here too. So now we would like to ask a volunteer to say our prayer. Do we have anybody? Mr. Stubbs, would you do it? Thank you.
This was planned.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for thy many blessings. We pray that the Spirit be here with those involved. Be with all of us in our daily efforts to do good, and these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. If you'll stand up with us and join us on the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, do we have any conflict of interest? Anybody want to disclose?
I have none.
None from Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Harvey?
I don't have any conflict, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, and I don't either. So we'll turn the time to Mac for public comments.
Okay. Not seeing anybody signed up inside here for public comment. If there's anybody in the audience wishing to make a public comment, now is the time to do so. You have 3 minutes to make the comments. Not seeing anybody online, not seeing anybody jump up and get that going. So, commissioners, that's your public comment period for today.
Okay, we'll turn the time to Mac for the consent agenda.
Okay, for today's consent agenda, you have the approval of $66,664.20 in small purchases. You had $6,000 for both member for the San Juan County Visitor Services. Should be a booth that they're attending a conference at. Got $56,572.42 for tires for our San Juan County fire engines throughout the county. Got $4,091.78 for carrier reman core exchange bearing and tail shaft for San Juan County Road Department. We had a distributor that went out on one of our pieces of San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services for state fiscal year 2022. This is an amendment number 3 to that agreement. Item number 3 is the approval of the Children with Special Health Care Needs Care Coordination Agreement between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Services. That's amendment number 2. Item number 4 is approval of integrated viral hepatitis surveillance and prevention agreement between San Juan County and the State of Utah Department of Health and Human Service. That one's amendment number 3. Item number 5 is the approval of the second amended memorandum of understanding between the Utah Education Network and San Juan County to increase the agreement by $3,168.51 from $23,122.50 to $26,921.01. That 1 cent is critical. That's for our library system. UEN helps us out a lot with their grants for the libraries. Item number 6 is approval of the groundwater and sewer grant funding request for a diversion system in the Colorado River to benefit Moab Valley, which we belong to there. This is a GWISA letter of support for grant application that they're filling out. Hopefully we can get that diversion system. That, Commissioners, is your consent agenda items today.
Thank you, Mac. Our next items are it's a big business action, and we'll turn the time to Nicole Perkins. We have
We need to probably take a vote on that.
oh, okay, sorry.
Need a motion to
Okay, a motion for number 7 or for the
For the consent agenda.
agenda.
For consent
so 1
agenda,
through
okay.
6.
we have a motion for the consent agenda.
We'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second? Can you hear us, Commissioner Harvey?
I will second the motion.
The motion has been passed. Thank you. And now
Let's vote.
do we have to vote? I got close to you so you can kick me.
Okay,
You're
all
not
right.
kicking me. Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So it's all
Unanimous.
unanimous
3 in
approval. So anyway, so now we can go to the business action and item number 7.
Okay, so item number 7 here is consideration and approval of the San Juan County Library System between the Utah Education Network and San Juan County to submit a pre-application and commitment letter agreement to participate in the Digital Equity Competitive Grant. This one here, presentation is by Nicole, our library director.
So, this is a little different than anything we've done before. This is where UETN is going to go to NTIA for funding, and the more libraries that participated in this pre-application process, the more likely they'll get the funding. They're not guaranteed to get it, but they had quite a few libraries that participated. And so what this is we put in like our wish list and the research for what we want and what it would cost. They take all that information to the libraries and then they go to NTIA, and off the top of my head, National Telecommunications and Information Administration. That's what NTIA stands for. And then they should let us know. I believe by the end of this year, we'll know if we're accepted. And then there is a letter of commitment that we do need the commissioners to approve if we're going to do this, and to sign, saying that if we are awarded these funds, that we will commit to follow through with these projects. And so that's what that is. And what this could mean, we don't have to match there's no matching funds. It could, after we finally got through everything and put everything we wanted on our wish list, it's close to $150,000 that we're asking for. It doesn't mean we'll get it all. It doesn't mean any of that, but there's a good chance. They're very encouraging that the funding would come through. And so that's where we're at, just pre-application and seeking your approval. And if so, once it's approved, UEN will be sending, Commissioner Harvey, they'll be sending you an email, and I think Mac, you're CC'd on it, and Rosa, to sign both the amended one that we just did,
okay.
and then there'll be that, but then there'll be this one where there'll be a signature needed at the bottom in the email, just so you know. And they're hoping to get it back today because they're kind of making an exception for us to present today, because we were supposed to have everything in yesterday, but they're like, get it approved, get it signed. So just so you know, thank you.
Okay, well,
If you have any questions.
anybody want to make a motion to the approval and support of this proposal? Approval for the signature and support.
I'll make the motion, Commissioner Stubbs. This is Commissioner Harvey.
Okay,
I'll make a second to that motion.
and so we have a motion, we have a second. Any questions, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a quick question.
Aye.
Commissioner Stubbs, are you the new chair that I need to have them send it to you and not to? No. Okay. You're just
Yeah,
conducting. Okay. All right.
so all in favor?
Aye.
We already voted,
Yeah.
Aye.
so we have everybody in agreement, unanimous for vote, 3.
0 opposed.
Okay, 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay.
Thanks,
Good
Nicole.
luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, this next item on the agenda is consideration and approval of the bylaws between San Juan Children's Justice Center Advisory Board and San Juan County. We had a presentation on here from Robert, our director for the CJC, a month ago, 2 months ago, in which he had mentioned he'd make some changes to it and bring it back. You see on his staff report the changes to those bylaws, pretty simple. On there, basically, if there's any changes, they'll bring it back to the commission for approval, in summary. And so
Okay.
Robert is out of the office today up at a conference, and so he asked to be excused, and so we just fill in to make these simple changes and simple requests.
I'll make a motion to approve the bylaw changes for the Children's Justice Center as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, do we have any questions? It's something we already approved before, basically just approving some changes.
Just the modification, yep.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
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 3 in favor, 2 opposed. 0 opposed.
3
I'm
opposed.
sorry. Anyway,
So that motion
any
passes.
questions, anything? Pass.
Okay. All right, the next one is consideration and approval of the equipment and software maintenance purchase contract between Pitney Bowes and San Juan County. And we've got our clerk auditor who will be presenting this one here.
Yes, the state, the Lieutenant Governor's office has offered to purchase a letter opener for the ballots. election ballots. We'll send out about 9,200 ballots. And so if you think of the effort to open every ballot, and we'll get 8,500 back. And so the state offered to buy us a letter opener, and they will fund 90% of it. And so the cost is around $4,900. So we'll pay $490, and then we'll have an annual maintenance agreement with Pitney Bowes. And so I bring this before the commission for approval, and it'll help us in our election office.
What's the annual maintenance on it? 49?
It looked like it was close to the 10%, around $490 a year, $500.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll make the second with the question. Is Pitney Bowes gonna be videoed as he opens the envelopes for auditing purposes?
No, they will not. We do have cameras in our election room, and they'll be filming all of the effort, and it will be also in our election room or our main office, so that it can be viewed or recorded as the machine is being fed and ballots being opened and then ballots being removed. All of that will be filmed. It just won't be by Pitney Bowes.
Is Pitney Bowes a registered voter with South County?
No, they are a state vendor, and so we were referred to them for the purchase. State approved vendor.
Do we have a motion?
And you had the
Is there a
second.
motion, a second?
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 We have 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, so that motion passes on that one.
Thank you.
Next one is the consideration and approval of the 2023 certification of the annual independent audit for San Juan Council. We have Tammy here presenting.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
I just have my 2023 independent financial audit that I need to have you guys approve. It should be in your packet. I hope you enjoyed that fun reading.
What pages?
Yeah, we Schmunrich and Marsing is the one that performs our financial audit. They performed it in April and presented it to my board in July, and my board approved it. So now it's just up to you guys to sign off on it. I don't know if you want me to go over highlights or if you have any questions. It is an unqualified or clean opinion, and so that's kind of what we want when it comes to an audit.
I have a question. How do you feel about it? You feel good?
I feel good about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
Yeah, I feel good about the audit. We had a decent year. Of course, there's always funny things in the financials, the URS, and the funny things they do kind of make things look better or worse than normal. But overall, we had a decent year. Our change in net position was a little over $200,000, which is the way we want to go. But we know we have years where we do good. We have years where it's not so good. That's why we have reserves. So I feel like it was a good audit, and it was a good year.
Your department is a very important department, and I think as the years go by, we're gonna have more and more need for mental health. I think we are
Commissioner,
a very stressed out population. Yes, Commissioner Harvey?
can we do the highlights with Tammy? Just for the record, the highlights.
Can we do the one?
Sure.
So page 4.
Yeah, if you want to kind of go on to page 4, what the financial highlights that they talked about. Our total revenues, they decreased a little bit. So our income we brought in decreased a little bit, and part of that was from Medicaid funding. Medicaid is kind of a funny thing. During the COVID years, we actually had a lot of Medicaid funding, and there, with the unwinding and we're having more people drop off Medicaid, we anticipate that the Medicaid funding will continue to drop just a little bit. So that's kind of what that first bullet point is talking about. The business expenses increased a little bit, 8.8%. Of course, all business expenses are increasing everywhere. And then the non-operating revenues and expenses, the interest earnings, we actually had a pretty good interest earnings last year compared to previous years. Interest rates are finally rebounding. I think we made like almost $70,000 in interest alone. So that's a really good thing. That's kind of where you want to be. And so the net position, which is the total basically that we made overall, it increased by the $208,000. So that's the financial highlights. And the other things that the auditor kind of talked about with the audit, specifically on page 12, when it's talking about the liabilities on our balance sheet, the net pension liability, that's $128,000. That's one of those things. That's a URS thing we have no control over. And in our unrestricted account, we have a little over $1 million there, which is a really good amount to keep us healthy, to keep us going on when we have bad years.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Any other things you
I just
want me to touch on?
I just want to ask a question. How's your husband doing?
He's doing really good. He's doing really good. We're feeling really positive about things. So
Thank you for all you do in spite of all the things that come our way. So, okay, shall we have a motion for, you have a question? Okay.
Tammy, the county subsidizes your program to the tune of what?
I think last year was around 90, like this current year is around $96,000. It's a 20% requirement on the state general funds. And so far I don't ask for any more than that 20% requirement.
Well, I was just curious about the need for that subsidy if you've got a fairly good sized reserve.
The problem with is it's in state law that if you don't pay that 20%, then I don't get general funds. If I don't get general funds, I can't make Medicaid match. If I can't make Medicaid match, I can't get Medicaid dollars.
I understand.
And that's where it all comes down from. Like pretty much 100% of the county funds that I get go towards paying my Medicaid match.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we approve the report.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Very good. Tammy, you do a good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, if I could just get, you can sign that.
So I think all three of them have to have the signatures on there. I was looking at that. It's like, oh,
I think just
one,
one.
and then mine.
Just the,
Where do you want her to sign it?
Under county commissioner.
County
The very
Commissioner.
top one. If you guys all want to sign it, I don't think it's
We
gonna
can get
hurt.
two of them. That's no problem.
okay,
Yeah. And then if there's any questions, they can always look back on the
do you want
minutes.
to sign it too?
Yeah, we'll have you sign it as the county manager too.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It'll all be
Thank
said
you.
and done.
And as always, thank you for your support. And
Yeah.
you guys know how to find me if you have any questions.
Awesome, Tammy. Thanks.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
he gonna be ready for wrestling season?
Yes,
Oh,
that is the plan.
that's nice.
Awesome.
I didn't know Tammy wrestles.
Well, it's a secret.
Do you want Jamie's stamp on that?
Yeah, we can get Commissioner Harvey's stamp on there if you check with Rosa. Rosa can stamp it if you want that, Tammy. All right, so item number 11 is consideration and approval of a comment letter on the United States Forest Service draft environmental impact statement on management. Nick also couldn't be here today, asked for me to step in his place. In the staff agreement, in the staff report, he had indicated on here that he's worked with Plitco on their public comments as well to this management plan that the Forest Service has drafted and put out before the public to get their comments on the old growth systems within the forest. If you look at in your packet, there is a map of the forest systems that have that old growth. Let me get it here. So you see on here, you see the blue as well as the La Salle mountains. So you see the Abajos and then they're at La Salle, and you can kind of tell on the legend which is your older growth. So that darker green is the older growth sections on here. And so with having that in mind on here with our statement, let me get back to his staff report. Make sure I have it. So as Plitco reviewed the environmental impact statement and they provided their comments, they pushed it out to all the comments to also review so that everybody was kind of sound heart, sound mind with this. Two main concerns that were brought up and shared with the county was the need for coordination of the forest plans with the county plans, and the concern that the final old growth management not override the need nor hinder the application of active forest management with those needs to ensure healthy forest. With the older growth, oftentimes you can find the dead and diseased growth in there, and so it's making sure that we're managing those accordingly. We've had, we've made mention multiple times to the Forest Service about our watersheds and making sure that they're protecting those, removing the old growth out of those in case there was a fire, that you don't have all of this forestry that's at the forest floor that causes problems. And so I think the overall request is really to the Forest Services, don't forget us in those, that we do have our general plan, which includes the resource management plan. Continue to listen to the counties and cities on how we want to see those forest lands managed here within our areas. And so it's really kind of a plea to pay attention to the local and the local plans, which by federal mandate they're supposed to be looking at anyways. And so it was really touching on that, but to really make sure that they have a plan for that mitigation of the older forest growth and kind of going into support of the timber industry that we want to support here within this area.
Also, when we go to the legislature, one of the lectures that we had there, they were talking about what the overgrowth does, not only cause fire, but it prevents the water from running. Like there's a couple years in Blondie where we had lots of snow in the mountain, but the water never got to the reservoirs, and it was because all the overgrowth is just sucking out the water, and so that's a dual reason why we should do it. Fire and the loss of the timber, and plus make sure that the water flows to the reservoirs. So.
Yeah, for the water side. So in his letter, he had stated in here is like, we hope that management development for old growth forest does not override the need for active forest management to prevent and control the wildfires, which you had touched on, insect infestation and disease. And literally just kind of pay attention and continue to coordinate with us. And I feel the Forest Service does a fairly good job at that. We just want to always continue to put that and keep that in the forefront of their mindset that, we do have local plans that we appreciate them looking at. With that, he's seeking approval just for this letter of response
Okay,
to that.
do we have a motion for the approval of this letter of support?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second. Any comments, any questions?
Just thank you to Nick for his time and energy on this work.
Yes, we thank him for this
Yeah,
work.
certainly will. He's sure is a great help. Whenever we
Yeah.
get these, we push them right to Nick, and Nick studiously goes through everything and coordinate and looks at our plan, see what we have to make sure that,
That's good.
that they're in
So
line. And
all in favor of supporting this letter?
Aye.
Aye.
I
We had 3 in favor, 0 opposed. The resolution passes.
Okay. The next one on your agenda is consideration and approval of the contractor's agreement for construction manager general contractor services with CERC Construction Incorporated for the San Juan County Public Safety Building remodel. Earlier this month, you approved the notice of award and rights to negotiate the contract. This is the first of a series of contracts. You'll see that later on in the Pack Creek project, kind of how those contracts come about. But this is the first contract that gets them in the door to where we can start working with the architect. AJC Architect is our firm over at the Public Safety Building. And as we marry the two together contractually, CERC will be able to help us finalize and get to the final design of the remodel. And then from there, we would enter into the extensive contracts for the construction services side of this. But this gets them in the door and gets the project moving forward.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have any questions? No questions, so all in favor of supporting the motion? Say aye, aye.
Aye.
I
We had 3 in support, 0 opposed. The resolution passes.
Okay, on the next one, item number 13 is consideration and approval of the San Juan County project contracts with Redoubt Restoration Incorporated in San Juan County for the Pack Creek watershed protection. As a reminder, we did receive a grant on this project from NRCS. We're super appreciative of those grant funds and the opportunity that we have to assist the community in their watershed protection projects. As we issued similar in fashion the construction management general contractor award to Redoubt, we've been working with NRCS to finalize some of the design elements and the engineering of the projects within Pack Creek watershed area. Now it's time to get into the contract side of it. The total award on here, just as a reminder, that 1.4 million, so $1,463,750 that we have to spend, of which there is a 25% match that is required on there. Some of these projects in this are county projects where you have the county road, and then kind of a project of kind of mitigation, a flood mitigation project that's a little bit lower in protection of the bridge element that is kind of a public element in this. And so we've gone through and worked with the contractor. The contractor is, this project overall is a little bit interesting where we have opportunities in the project where the contractor can utilize some of the trees that were burnt in the structures themselves. And so it's kind of this rolling contract that allows the contractor to work with us and NRCS to use as much in-kind donation services as possible. And the trees would be that in-kind element. And we would check with NRCS to make sure that we're allowed to use, certain trees and those burnt trees off of the properties. A lot of coordination with the individual property owners on this. Each project that takes place on here outside of the county projects are really in the private property areas, and so part of the contractual agreements here is the easement, which will give the contractor access to their property to install these mitigation projects on their properties. And so we do have that access agreement in here, which we'll have to coordinate with the water company and the private property owners so that we can get them signed on behalf of the private property owners so that we can access that. And in there it kind of stipulates, we've got to return it back to normal or as close to normal as possible as they go through. Oftentimes you have a track hoe or a backhoe that goes down into the area that will leave trails and marks and things like that. And so it's kind of making sure that at the end of the day we protect those private properties. But if we can mitigate trees on private property and stick them in the project itself and have that count towards in-kind, then we can do so. And so his contract is kind of that, where the contractor's aware of that, and we'll work with the individual property owners to see how much we can use to mitigate. So hopefully we can reduce the amount that
And they're very specific
that comes
on
off the top.
each of their
Absolutely.
project.
Yep. And this
Anyway.
contractor, he's ready to go. There is one hiccup that we're still trying to work through with the federal government, and that's a stream permit. They're kind of hesitant to give us stream permit approval where you had the original elevation of the stream and now we're below that original elevation. So they feel that getting the permit is a little bit harder than just a normal stream permit. So Tammy continues to work on that. Tammy Gallegos, she's been feverishly trying to work with the federal government to get that. Meanwhile, there are areas within this project where the contractor can go ahead and begin, the county's portions of it, you can go ahead and begin working on, as well as some of those that aren't below that stream water for that permit. And so NRCS,
What stream water are you talking about?
the Pack Creek stream that goes through that. I know. That's what we say too. The federal government is pretty rigid, I guess, in their process. And so it continues to get deeper as these floods go through, and that's where it's kind of gone below the elevation in some of these areas. And so NRCS has been very good, and you see in the construction design here where they call out specific elevations. I think we've had probably 3-4 good floods that have come through that area since this, and all of it can kind of be attributed to the fire. As we had the fire through that area, burn scars attract moisture and rain. And as it's done through that, you've got the water that now can flow, kind of like you'd mentioned in the previous item, is you remove that vegetation and it no longer sucks up the water. Well, it comes down fast. In Pack Creek, it comes down really fast. And especially if it hits Brumley, and Brumley's running really fast, then that's where you get the flooding below in Spanish Valley. And so as those things have changed on here, it's just trying to keep up with the flooding, but yet knowing that in the end, all of these measures that are put into place really go to protect the community's water system, which is on an aquifer replenishment system. And so if we can get it to where it mitigates, it starts eroding the stream bed as much as possible, protects our road coming across, protects the bridge below, and we feel all of these projects are kind of a win-win for the community. It's also a win-win for the county, so that we don't have to continue to go in and replace those systems. I think we're on our second replacement of Desert Solitaire, which is the bridge that goes across to the community. But we've also been worried about the bridge below as it continues to erode. You get those fast floods that come through there. They will push rocks, they push trees and everything into that main bridge, and you can kind of see some erosion of those rocks and that bridge system. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of that structure so that we don't get into a problem where they could no longer cross the bridge and get to the other side and have access out to the Spanish Valley area. And so all in all, this contract sets it up with the contractor. It's a list of contracts for the entire project, so you kind of see his bid in here, but then also you get into the performance and payments bonds that he'll have to sign before we release this. Got the notice to proceed, which is once we get everything in here, then we issue the notice to proceed. So some of them have my name specifically on them to where I can access them and action them outside of a commission meeting. We can go ahead and tell him, yeah, we do have the stream permit, go ahead and proceed with these other areas. It has a change order form. We don't anticipate a lot of change orders on this project, hopefully none. But we do have a form that's already created on there with the work directive. If that change order is approved, that gives him authorization to continue with this. This will be a big coordinated effort. No projects I feel are really simple in government, and this one is especially hard where we have private property owners involvement as well as the water company, NRCS, and the county, all trying to coordinate our efforts to make sure this goes as smooth as possible. We've had the attorneys ad nauseum kind of go through these documents so that the county's protected, the water company's protected. And then the landowner at the end of the day is also protected on these. And so it's kind of a lot. And I know it added to your packet a couple 100 pages, it seems like. But all in all, these are the construction documents that we're asking you to approve today. And then later on, we'll have that public hearing that will take care of the financial side of it. Any
Anybody have any
questions?
questions?
Mitch, did you look this?
I
this
did,
over?
yeah.
Everything is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just have a comment and a question. I read that they're gonna be cutting the logs. It sounds like for wood, for use for wood. If we have an opportunity, anybody I have reached out to for Wood for Life, they seem not to have enough. So if there's some there, they can be taken to a couple places within our county. It would be nice to be able to harvest some of the wood. I don't know. I
For
can
the
be
firewood.
I cannot.
This wood here that we're trying to use is for the project where
Yeah,
we would take
but-
and embed it right into the stream.
So
And
it's not gonna be little pieces left over.
Mm,
Okay.
no,
so-
and that would be really up to the private property owners if they
Okay.
wanted to have wood that was
Okay.
taken off of their property and
Yeah.
distributed for public use. But we'll
Yeah.
keep it in mind that there's this opportunity if there's leftover pieces and ends that the contractor's aware that there's an opportunity of disposing those instead of just taking them to the landfill.
Anyway, do we have, do you have any question, Commissioner Harvey? Any comments?
I'm just curious about the timelines for this. What's our timeline we're working on?
Budget?
So they're already staging out on site. They're ready to go this next week. Once this is really kind of the holdup is the constructional documents, and he just got off of a project, and literally he's like, instead of moving his stuff home, can I stage it here on site instead of taking it back in up north? He was on a project in Colorado, and it's like, can I drop this off so I don't have to mobilize twice? Looks like Tammy also has her hand raised on here. Tammy, did you have a statement?
I did. I was just going to tell the commissioners that their plan is to start Monday, the 23rd.
So within a couple of months, he wants to be in and out. As pretty fast contractor. He's got his crew ready to go to work. As they begin Monday, it'll take a couple months to get through, but they want to be out of there before heavy snow flies.
I want to just make one comment. Do you know we here in our area, we depend so much on rain and water. It's one of the most important thing for us to have. And we have been blessed a lot. And I learned in life the blessings sometimes have side effects. And because we have lots of water, we have had lots of damage. But take one step forward. we are benefiting from the extra funds that are gonna come. They're gonna be able to fix some of those problems so it can be more permanent. So when the rain comes, we'll be better protected. And so with that said, if there's any more comments, we have a motion.
I make a motion, we approve this contract.
Have a second.
I'll second the motion to approve.
Okay, the motion have been passed. If there's not any more questions, all in favor?
Aye.
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 We have 3 in support, 0 opposed. The resolution passes.
Okay, the next one on your agenda is consideration and approval of an interlocal agreement between San Juan County and the San Juan County or San Juan School District for participation in the school district's emergency medical technician program. We were alerted, or we were asked to allow students to have access to our pager system. And that was the kind of the first time as administrative staff that we've heard that there's an active class that is ongoing at the high schools in Blanding and Monticello for EMT. It's an EMT program. And with that, they require a couple of things. They want access to the dispatch system. They also want to participate in ride-alongs for our ambulance system. And so at that, we're kind of working backwards. The class is ongoing now, and these students want to participate on active ride-alongs. But with that, we didn't have an agreement in place so that in case something happened to the student while on the ambulance, we wanted to make sure, okay, who has liability. And so this interlocal agreement pushes the liability where they are students of the school district. It pushes the liability of the students to the school district. Typically in the past, I've been told that most participation took place on school district property, but now where they'll be riding on the ambulances, we wanted to make sure that they had coverage while on the ambulance. We're going to have to work on some of the nuances of our EMTs. We didn't want the EMTs all of a sudden now have to be a supervisory role and take on that supervisory role of the students. But I think there's some coordination that we have to continue to look at with the school district to see what all that coordination entails. But with that program, it's something that, when I was speaking to Johnny up at UAC last week and told him about, this effort in the class and how they wanted to do these ride-alongs. Johnny's first comments is like, no, why would the county get into this?
Johnny is our lawyer.
Yeah.
One of
And
the
so
lawyers.
Johnny's super protective of the county. And as I talked to him and just continuing in that conversation, I really do feel that programs like this can benefit our EMT system. And if we can get, 1 or 2 students that develop that passion and have the heart to continue to work for our emergency medical services, then why not try to support it as much as we can? I think it would be a good thing, if we can turn out 1 or 2 students that want to continue to be EMTs, want to volunteer or want to become part-time employees in the system, then we benefit. It just means less training that we have to do at an adult level. But if we can really establish the hearts and minds for these students early on, a lot of these students will go on to nursing school. My daughter, she did this up in Davis County with the Applied Technical Institute up there, and I mean, she graduated. She was already the EMT when she graduated, as well as the CNA. And so I think programs like this can benefit our youth and can kind of help steer their career path. And we've been really responsive in trying to create ways for economic mobility. That's really developing our community for these local jobs. And this is one of them that I really feel that would be a benefit for the county. And so as I explained that to Johnny, he's like, okay, here, as long as we can have the liability remain with the school district. The the dispatch access is about $30. That I felt that the school district should be able to pick up. It'd be about $360 a year. I felt that the school district, if they pick up that portion of it, we can cover the students on gloves, masks, things like that that they would have. So we wouldn't be charging the students for that. But I really feel like having that hands-on experience for the students is super important. We're the only, crew in town that can really do this. We just wanted to make sure that things were dotted and our T's were crossed as far as the liability side of it. There is also an opportunity where they can participate in a future training here that will be held at the fairgrounds, kind of a simulated event that we want to have their involvement and participation as we train our staff on it. And so I also included that in the interlocal agreement. The interlocal agreement is kind of open-ended so that we don't get into a situation in the future where half of the year is over and we're trying to come up with agreements and make sure who's got what. So I think we'll coordinate a little bit better with the school district, have this in place up front so that they know kind of our terms are, and then continue to support the program as much as we can.
Anybody has any questions? Any comments? I think like you say, Mac, this goes with the other programs that we have with upper mobility. The one that we try to do for students who qualify to work for their, for service. We have lots of opportunity of work, but we don't have people apply. Certain population is not applying for those positions. So I think it's a good thing for us to be building the future workforce of the county. Anyway, so do I have a motion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion on the interlocal agreement with the school district.
Okay, then we have a motion, we have a second, so all in favor, say aye.
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 The motion, 3 support the motion, 0 opposed, the resolution passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on the next one here, I need you to enter into a public hearing.
Make a motion, we enter into a public hearing.
I second to go into public hearing.
Okay. Do we need to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The resolution, the motion passed, and we enter into public hearing.
Okay, let me explain this one here. Is you have a resolution, so the title is Consideration and Approval of a Resolution Approving Entering into a Participation and Reimbursement Agreement with the Pat Creek Water Company for a loan and reimbursement of county funds to be used for the local match required by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Services for Pat Creek community projects as part of the grant award for the San Juan County Pat Creek Emergency Watershed Protection 2021 project funding. This one here, just working with the Pat Creek project, where they do require that 25% local match overall on that federal award. We've worked with the community. There was 2 options. We were either going to have to place a tax assessment of the private property owners for the project to get the local match from the community, or, and we're grateful for this, the water company has graciously stepped forward and raised their hand, agreeing to take on that match requirement on behalf of the community, because really, in essence, it protects that water system that feeds the community. And it's a private nonprofit organization that has formed, that Pat Creek Water Company, to provide culinary water to the citizens. And through that mechanism, they're able to enter into loans with the county as well, vice versa. The county is able to enter into loans with them as that nonprofit organization and meet this match obligation. So the Pat Creek Water Company would pretty much guarantee that local match requirement is funded from them, and what they would do through their system would be billing those consumers of the water system through their mechanism of billing for as a water company. They would bill that through to them, and then from that, the water company would then be making payments back to the county to reimburse us. To come up front, right now we're estimating around, and we had a total of 255,000. It's a little bit less. It's about, I think, 244,000 on that local match requirement at the community level. The county takes care of its portion, and then they will take care of the community's portion. And so, like I mentioned earlier, that amount is going to ebb and flow. We're going to be working with NRCS to try to get as much of the mitigation, the trees and things like that we can put towards the project to try to reduce this match amount. So even in the language of their participation agreement, we have it to where we think it'll be about here, but we're going to try for less. So it allows for us at the end of the day to develop this payment pattern. They had agreed to pay that in total back within 5 years with annual payments. So we would just divide up at the end of the day the total cost for that participation amount, and then work with them on that payment schedule. And then from there in sequence, they would pretty much be paying 1/5 of the payment back to the county. So in previous times, years ago, we had used the road funds that we have in a PTIF account. They have a couple million that are sitting in those PTIF accounts that's kind of slated for future road projects. As we apply for some of these federal awards, we do have this requirement for local mats on roads, or just in general county road dollars. And so there's a fund that's already created as a PTIF account, and that PTIF is a public account that's set up with the state where we keep our road funds at. And so we would use the road fund to pay for this upfront. Everything had to be upfront. NRCS won't let us make payments for a project like this. So the local match is required at the end of the project. So we would, in essence, pay the contractor their portion of the funds as the project commences, and then kind of guarantee at the end of the day that the water company would make us payments to reimburse the road funds throughout this next 5 years. Just under 300,000, if you're around 250,000 isn't a lot. We don't feel that it will hold up any road projects in the future. We receive an annual allocation from the state on our road funds, and so this will just kind of take a little bit out of the coffers, and then they'll be paying it within the next 5 years. By law, we had to go through this process. The county can enter into loans with nonprofit organizations, but to do that, you do have to go through a public notification system. So we've noticed this in the newspaper, as well as our website, as well as the Utah Public Notice. And then we go through this public hearing to hear if any of the public objects to us entering into this, essentially a loan for this project. And so with that kind of gives you a little bit of background of why we're here. We certainly do appreciate the water company stepping forward for the community. I think it would be a lot more difficult to get this project to take place if we had to work with individual property owners, especially individual property owners who would then be responsible for making those payments on their taxes. I think that would have been a pretty big uphill battle to try to sell that. And the water company and the county as well feels that this is really in the best interest for the entire community, where it helps it helps preserve the water that comes down in Pack Creek, but more importantly, the water that seeps down into the soil that feeds their aquifer. So being able to try to mitigate and slow that water down so it keeps it on site as long as possible, so that we can get that recapture of the water going downstream into the aquifer to help them maintain adequate aquifer storage in their water system. Any questions about that? If there's no questions with that, then we can turn the time over to any public that's wanting
Okay,
to.
we are in public meeting. This is a portion, and this, if you want to participate, have any comments on the item presented?
Hi, I'm Holly Sloan. Good to see everybody.
Hello.
I'm representing the water company up at Pack Creek, as well as the neighbors, because this is kind of as Mac has really eloquently said, it's a complex program, because even some of the work that's being done on the individual property doesn't benefit that individual property owner. It benefits somebody who may live somewhere completely different. So I think Mac is right. In the end, it's very fortuitous that the water company can manage the payment of this, because we kind of know, well, these are the 5 people, or in one case, the 12 people that will be benefiting from the irrigation takeout repairs. So we're happy we can help in this regard. It's certainly to our benefit. It's a great partnership. I think Mac is probably sorry that I now have his cell phone number. And I think I've already unintentionally called him at least once, where he panically calls me back. Is there something? Do I need to do something? We're excited this is going on. This is, I think probably nobody's happier than the water company board, Mac and Tammy online, that after 4 years, maybe we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. One of the unfortunate things that happened, nobody's fault in this room, is that I was looking at the documents 4 years ago when the NRDS came out and did their initial assessment. And it's interesting because almost all the work back then was focused on restoring the creek and stopping the erosion. Well, 4 years of floods have really shifted that. And now there's a significant amount of the project that is repairing damage, whether it's the lower water crossing access or the bridge, or some private property that has been significantly damaged. And for the water company, it's a little disheartening, though, like I say, there's nothing any of us can do about it, that less of the project is now focused on actually stopping the erosion. And so this is going to be something the water company is going to have to look at when the project is done. Have we made enough progress? We may need to think of alternatives down the road. But we are so glad this is going forward. We appreciate that you signed. I'm glad you signed the contract with Readout. I think he's going to do a great job. And hope you'll sign this participation agreement. We're having our meeting on Thursday with our shareholders just to confirm all of this, not anticipating any difficulty whatsoever. We've been in regular contact with them and have passed resolutions and motions approving this all the way along. So it's kind of a pro forma and should be able to move forward quickly. Yeah, thanks.
Can I make a comment? You know, my favorite part of this project is that we can work together. You know, lots of time we up beside the fence and nothing gets done. But I think that this is an example of how we can work together for the good of all, you know, not only right now, but for the future, whoever's coming after us. So I appreciate it.
Like I say, I have Mac's cell phone number now, so. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Anyone else want to make a public comment on this one? I don't see very many people online.
Can I make a motion? We go out of public hearing?
Have a second?
Second motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and there's no any other questions, all in favor, say aye.
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 The motion have passed with 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Now
So-
we need to make a motion or discussion about the resolution.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution between the county and the Pat Creek Water Company.
I second that motion to approve.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve. Anybody in favor?
Aye.
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 The resolution passed, 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Perfect. Okay. Now the next item on your agenda is Board of Equalization, so I need you to make a motion to enter in as the Board of Equalization.
I make a motion, we go into Board of Equalization.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 The motion passed, 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, with that, we'll turn our time over to Rick, County Assessor.
All right, Commissioners, here we are again, making corrections and asking for your approval of these items that are in front of you at this point in time. Most of them are changing the designation from primary to secondary or secondary to primary on their resident status. There's a couple, and we have no idea how this happens, but there was vacant property where homes were put on vacant property, and so we need to remove those from the tax roll, so it's still vacant property. So as you look through those, if you have any comments or questions.
Are all of these items basically going from secondary to primary?
Either or. There's some going to primary as well. Let's see.
Number 16 was a convert from secondary to primary.
Right.
Were most of them, did they increase in dollar, in value? Or did
No, so it's just it's almost a equal match where the county is coming ahead by about $18,000.
I just know number 18 went from 123 to 307, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So that is Johnny Scorup's old house. And they had an appraisal done in the last 3 weeks on the house. Mm-hmm. And we took the appraisal and we looked at the appraisal and the home buyer, there's a person buying this home. And yes, we felt it was very, very, very appropriate to drop the value of that home down because of the damage to the home.
Okay.
There's been it's been vacant for a number of years, and there's been quite a bit of damage on the inside and outside of that home.
Well, plumbing and all that stuff goes really bad when a house is.
Yeah, when it sits empty.
Chair, I have a question.
Okay.
Chair, just requesting for clarification. Just need to get clarification on what the difference is between primary and secondary.
Okay, I'll go ahead and answer that question. So a primary residence is where somebody lives in a home for more than 6 months out of a calendar year. So in the state law, it says 183 days. Now that could be a renter, or that could be the family that owns the home. And this also applies to our trailer houses in the county under our personal property evaluations. So primary residence by state law receives a 45% reduction of the the taxable value of the home. The market value is dropped 45%, and the taxable value then is 55% of the market value. So it's a great reduction, great plan for people. Really is a good thing. And we have to watch, it changes, people move in and out, and they do have rentals. They get tired of renting, or they want to rent, so the designation changes. So a secondary residential property receives no deduction on their taxes. So that's why it's important to watch for those and keep track of them. And we have people who come in and tell us. We have lots of honest people. They come in, they call us and let us know. So most of these are people that have called us and said, hey, we need to change this. Number 15, the Bowerings here in Monticello, they quit renting their basement out, so we changed that back to a primary. The entire house is a primary residential.
Can I ask a question?
That's a PRE. That's a PRE on that, on number 15.
I just have a question. Is there lots of people the last few years have been excited about having homes that they can rent and do things like that.
Oh, yes.
Are you finding out that is lots of those people after a certain period of time, they change that and they just don't do it for a very, very long time? Or
that's number 8 and 9.
Okay.
Exactly what you're talking about. So if you look at the values of 8 and 9, the value did not change.
Mm-hmm.
But we found they were under primary when it should have been secondary all along, because it was Airbnb.
So if you have a residence that the owner is renting out,
Yes.
The tax bill goes to the owner, not and that should be be taxed as commercial property.
Yes.
As opposed to residential and primary.
What there is this, we're trying to consolidate our designations down to just a few, just a handful. So once they go out of primary into secondary or commercial, there's no difference between secondary and commercial.
Right.
It's taxed the same, it's just a different designation.
Okay.
So we've thought about doing that commercial. The mortgage companies, the banks and stuff, they want to see a residential instead of a commercial on these. So, and most of these are actually in Spanish Valley too. The first one's actually in Monticello. That was a fun one. Family land, sold it to one of the family and has no access to it besides on his uncle's property. So, and if his uncle gets mad at him and says, don't go across my property, then he's out of luck. So he's working on getting some easements made.
Okay, I'll make a motion to come out of Board of Equalization.
We have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 So we are out of.
I'll
Board
make
of
a motion
Equalization.
that we approve the recommendations of the assessor's office on the items presented.
Any second?
I'll second that motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 The resolution passed. 3 in favor, 0 opposed. So we are.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Now we're done.
no, we have to
Commission report.
commission report. Okay,
Fine. Take off.
okay then.
Yeah, you don't need to hear this nonsense.
Thank you for
Okay,
coming.
You
Good
bet.
to see you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, our final item on the agenda is our commission report. Do we have somebody that wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go first,
Okay,
Commissioner Stubb.
thank you, Commissioner Harvey.
First of all, my apologies for not being there in person. I don't think you would value the gift that I come
No,
with.
we the one that gave the COVID.
Yeah, I somehow caught the COVID in the Provo Mountains. Somebody shared the wonderful gift of COVID with me. But nonetheless, commissioners, I enjoyed attending the Utah Association of Counties conference with each of you. I felt that meeting was very valuable and to the benefit of us for our county and for our knowledge. One of the things that I felt was important to just re-mention here is the efforts on the SB 174, Senate Bill 174 and 476. That's the municipal land use regulations. I know they're encouraging us to work on approving our affordable building. I think it's the building amendments or something like that, where we get to identify areas within our county for affordable housing, and we need to set up our policies for that. So I think we have some work to do before the end of the year. I think our county was identified as one of those counties that needs to work expediently to get our stuff finalized so that we're part of that incentive. The other discussion that I felt was very interesting was regarding the AI, artificial intelligence, and everyone seems to be excited about technology, but it's only exciting when you've got the right people around the table to implement and become wanting to be part of learning more about AI and the benefits of AI. I think a lot of the discussion around AI is productivity, taking all of the mundane things, repetitive kind of stuff, and running it through software. I found a way to go through policy and ask a chat box to summarize 5 points. So I didn't realize all you have to do is upload information and you get cliff notes. So that was really interesting. I think if we have the right people around the table to have a conversation about how AI can benefit us as a county. I think that's worth the exploration. It'll help us be more productive and move into the next phase of progress, I guess, moving off from industry and into technology. I think our children and the people behind us, the generations behind us, they seem to be more hands-on with a lot of this technology, and so hopefully we're able to learn more about how it can be advantageous for our county and our programs that we run in the county. Finally, I know there was talk about the opioid litigation and making sure that the MOUs that the counties have, that the way the counties fund programs, that they're appropriate. There's a recent Kroger settlement that was mentioned that should be coming to our county. It sounds like we'll be getting some additional opioid dollars within the next few months. And then finally, the economic development report that University of Utah presented. I was interesting to see the state divided into 5 economic, or it's actually 6 economic regions. And in our county, we were within the economic region with Grand County. And there's a lot of reports there about travel and TRT and the potential for working on plans to work together to improve economic development within our specific regions. Finally, today, I think the Navajo Utah Commission is meeting in Montezuma Creek. Unfortunately, their meeting conflicted with ours. On their agenda, they were going to discuss their legislative priorities from the Navajo Nation. I'm pretty sure one of their legislative priorities is exploring funding for the Old Jato Navajo Mountain Road. Also, I think there's talk about getting legislation for the state of Utah to support the Child Welfare Act, the ICWA portion. Anyhow, I'll probably be asking for copies of the minutes to catch up on some of the developing priorities that the Navajo Nation, specifically for Utah Navajo, the Utah 7 Navajo chapters, what their priorities would be for this coming Utah legislative season. Other than that, and a chapter has a scheduled chapter meeting this coming Friday at 10 a.m. We also have a scheduled CJCC meeting for our county at Shiprock PD, I believe, at the same time. So, but I'm looking forward to be hosted by Shiprock Police Department at their CJCC meeting. I should be in the clear Friday with my COVID. So, other than that, that's my report, Commissioners. I wish you happiness and strong, personal, immunized body so you don't catch this bug.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great week. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams?
Well, I'll try and keep mine short. I know that Jamie's aware of this, and I'm sure Sylvia is, but I just want to reiterate the significant commitment that the state of Utah has made to a couple of roads in our county from Bluff all the way out to Red Mesa. Mm-hmm. and for the cutoff road from 191 down to the road that runs out to Red Mesa. This is an absolute huge commitment on the part of the state to do this road work, and I think it's going to take a couple of years to get it done, but it's just nice to see that kind of commitment from the state of Utah on a road in our county. And so I know that those citizens down there are going to be really, really grateful when they see what finally happens. I went to a natural resource committee meeting on, I believe it was Tuesday last week. And one of the things that was discussed in detail was the lawsuit that the state of Utah has filed against the federal government to manage the lands in Utah rather than have the federal government manage those lands. We have a big portion, I think. It wasn't a lawsuit to take over ownership of the land. It's a lawsuit to manage the lands. I think the governor felt like that the people in Utah had a better idea of how those lands should be managed than they do in Washington, D.C. So he's filed this action, and in the Natural Resource Committee, there was a lot of discussion about an amicus brief from the counties.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would carry a lot of weight with the Supreme Court if they had support from all of the 29 counties or however many counties want to join in that amicus brief. And it'd be my suggestion that San Juan County participate in that amicus brief. It's not that we want to abuse the process of management. It's just that we want to be able to manage the land so the citizens have access to those government-owned lands, and that we have the ability to affect the management of those government-owned lands. There's going to be a lot of discussion about this in the future months, but that's kind of what was discussed prior to the UAC meetings and the natural resource meetings. I too thought that the UAC meetings were great. It was one of the really good conferences that UAC has held, and the discussion on all of the items Jamie mentioned were important, and I agree with him on those. I don't know, I guess I'll toot my own horn a little bit. I got a call from the governor's office during the conference on about Wednesday, and they told me that the governor had nominated me to serve on the UDOT Transportation Commission in the future, and I would have a hearing at the Senate, and if the Senate okayed my name, I guess starting in October or November, I'll be a member of the UDOT Transportation Commission and be able to help make decisions. My goal has been, if I got on that commission, was to improve the roads and the access from Spanish Fork down to San Juan County. All of us that live down here know what kind of nightmare we go through in trying to travel that road and how busy the truck traffic and other things have been. But anyway, that's a possibility, and looks like it's becoming more a reality than a possibility. I have upcoming meetings the first of the month. We have a CIB meeting in Salt Lake that we'll be going to approve projects that we've okayed in the last quarter or last trimester. Then we'll have another trimester to approve projects between October and the end of the year. So it's been busy, and I'm glad to see I think I will say this, the hospital is going to have a groundbreaking ceremony on, I believe it's October the 10th. Let me look. No, it's not the 10th. We should be getting an invite. Wait a minute. I thought he told me that week of the 10th. I'll have to get back with you on that. But that week sometime there will be a groundbreaking ceremony for the new hospital. That's all I've got to report.
Thank you. Just before this meeting, I had the privilege to attend the first civic celebration for the school district. And we had schools come from Navajo Mountain. All the schools were present at the USU campus. And it was an amazing thing. It's one of those things that sometimes you think about and you wish it can be happening. And here it's happening. I always felt that our youth are not learning about what is our civic responsibilities, or even, we get busy with so many things, and sometimes we have a negative vision, I guess, elections and things like that. But it was really nice to be there and to see the teachers. They have planned this, and we had, members of the Board of Education. We had the school, the main administrator, and so. But it was such a feeling as they were talking to the students about how important our vote is. Even if we our vote sometimes elect, if we see bad people get in, sometimes those bad people can teach us a lesson of what not to be. And so I'm so excited for them. I wish I could have stayed with them there, because we're going to amazing meetings. And Senator Hickman was there, and we did talk about the road and the process about getting the money, and it was kind of interesting. I always like to visit with him. I had to tell a quick story. I would go to the meetings that the Yellow Cake Caucus is sponsored by Phil Lyman, and people sit in the big table and they sit in the sides. And I didn't want to sit in the big table. I thought I'll just sit by what I thought were the commoners in the side. Little did I know I was sitting by senators. I wasn't to commission. I said, let's go meet the senators. They start opening the door. I thought they were my buddies, but they were the senators. And so I just love talking to him. He makes it so easy to talk, for you to ask questions and things like that. And so he'll be the keynote speaker. He's spending the whole day there with the students. And anyway, and the most special thing is, probably you all guys know this, but what is today? Today is the anniversary of the Constitution. And it was so nice to be there this time to celebrate and listen to presenters talk about the value of the Constitution. And I want to add ditto to all these things that were said about UAC. UAC has been for 100 years, and last year we were there doing the UAC conference. Was the stack day. We were there celebrating the 100 years of the creation of the organization. another project that I'll be working this week is called Soul, like the soles of the shoes for soul, the soul of the spirit. The free shoes for students, for all age of students, and it's going to be in Blanding on Saturday at 10 o'clock, and the building next to the it's the college building next to the Clark's Market. So I hope that people will come. We have posters all over that they will come and take advantage of that. I want to say one thing about UAC. When you go UAC, when I come from UAC, my head, I feel like it's ready to explode because I have so many things in my head. And my body is tired because we go. I don't know how. I just need a cowboy hat, I think, so I can take a nap. I don't know. But you know what? I also come with a heart full for the admiration of those people that have served for so many years. And I think sometimes we don't realize the sacrifice that those people have made. And I learned I learned many things, but one thing I learned as they went talking about the people, many are retiring. Some have served, like our Commissioner Adam, he's served about 20 years, 18, 20 years. Some were serving longer than that too, but there was one comment that somebody made that this person that was retired was asked a question, and he said the thing he had learned while serving was trying to figure out how to put it, he had learned to be better. He's a better person. And there's some times where this job, sometimes it put me to the test. Because sometimes, like this morning, I encountered somebody that I was so chirpy. I got up early. I went to the store at 7. I was so chirpy. And this person, somebody that has served many years in the public, you can tell they're burnout and they're stressed out, and they're just, the job had got to them, I think. And so I hope, if nothing else, I can become a better person by serving this position. One of the things that I came out dreaming, I always have big dreams, and my husband doesn't like to hear them, and I think Max sometimes doesn't want to hear them either. But they were talking about us preparing for the Olympics. And I thought about that, and I also were talking about community development was another area, and I was traveling home with all this idea. And I thought, my prayers are already being answered, because I thought, how are we going to get better transportation? And now we'll have somebody that can help us. Anyway, so, and then we need to have 10 years for a young person is a long time. For us, it can go by fast. And so if we can be ready, so we can have transportation where some of those visitors can have the opportunity to come and see the beauty of San Juan County and have the kind of business that will sustain visitors that come. So anyway, so for now, that's my report, and I'll just keep going busy. My main goal this week is to finish a grant for a splash pad. And I'm feeling good because I already have, if the grant goes through, I have $20,000 for match. And so that's kind of exciting. So thank you. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
I'll second that motion to adjourn, Commissioner.
Okay, the motion have been made. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So it's unanimous, so we are on our way.